So after last time's really successful session with Vince, we decided to add a second one because I think we were not done. And I think Vince, or I hope Vince, somehow enjoyed exploring Houdini. So I hope you too enjoy this session that we recorded, which picks up from where we left during Vince's first encounter with Houdini. So enjoy and have fun. So after a bit of negotiation, Vince and I decided for the second part of Vince versus Mo, or whatever you want to call this series, that we're going to talk a bit about how to import geometry into Houdini and how to tweak the simulation that we set up last time. So yeah. Vince, what do we have here?
Yeah, well, first of all, hello from my side without an image because I look tired and I look like shit today. So hey, next video I'll be back with my face.
Compared to this, you can only win.
Yeah, next time. So I have Quixelbridge open and I downloaded this asset already. Mm-hmm. And I exported it into Cinema 4D and I want to build my scene around this rock. Mm-hmm. And we will, of course, render this later on in Cinema 4D. But for now, I will export only this asset. And we'll go to export, FBX.
Why do you prefer FBX?
Doesn't matter. Anything. Alembic, OBJ.
I'm a huge Alembic fan.
You're an Alembic fan. Okay. Export, Alembic.
Well, actually, I'm a BGO fan, but Houdini, but Cinema 4D doesn't support that. So let's go with the next one.
Then we need only current frame. Where's the current frame in Alembic?
Start frame and end frame.
Yeah, I can also make 0, 0. Okay. Scale-wise 3.
I don't know.
That's a weird value. 3 centimeters. After you told me that Houdini doesn't have any values, I will make it one.
So Houdini is unitless. That doesn't mean that Houdini does not have values. So I think the conversion factor from Houdini into Cinema 4D is times 100. So whatever unit you have in Cinema 4D, as Cinema 4D for some weird reason is unit based, you have to make sure that for each meter you export only 1 centimeter.
Okay, then we'll try it with 1 centimeter.
I'm not sure what your scene units are set to, but yeah.
Yeah, this is like a real world scale. So let's call this guy just Rocky Rock. Okay. And I have my scene from the last session open.
Nice. And
after the recordings, I continued a little bit to play around with the scene and I made some more. And as you can see, well, you can't see, I clicked somewhere else. Let's see to the merge. And I'm not at frame 0. I learned that. So merge, and it is still very fast. I mean, everyone who's looking this from a cinema side will say, oh my God. And I'll say the same, like, wow, look, it's running.
Everyone coming from games will say this is damn slow.
Yeah.
And me coming from Houdini, I'd say this is normal.
Yeah, you're spoiled.
Yeah, totally.
So
okay, so yeah, we're seeing that.
90 frames. So, by the way, when we're here, how can we get rid of the points, like in the viewport?
Let me get my annotation tool. There we are. I'm now drawing with the mouse and not with the tablet. So to get rid of the points, uncheck this icon here.
Oh yeah, that's the guy. Perfect. That looks better. So.
And also, if you want to get rid of the wires and only want to see the solid shading, you can set your shading.
That I knew. I think it was here, right? Smooth shaded.
Exactly. So you're getting rid of your wireframes.
Yeah, I like to see wireframes often because then I know.
Then you can reactivate them up there.
What's happening? You like wireframe. So we just need to get rid of the tube.
And exchange it for the rock. Yes. So to load a file in here, as this is an Alembic has a special loader, which is called Alembic.
Alembic. Alembic is Alembic loader.
Yep. That just loads in Alembic, and where it says file name, you can click on the icon.
Would the Alembic loader also load FBX?
No, because it's
Is
not
there
an FBX loader.
FBX loader?
Well, okay, you can, on the one hand, you can import a whole scene as an FBX, as FBX can store more than just a single object. Sometimes, or most of the time, FBX is used to transfer animation, especially character animation. So you would use actually the file import. So under the file dialog, there's a specific import for FBX as well for Alembic, but that's...
Import FBX Filmbox.
Filmbox, and there's also an Alembic scene import, but that's overblown for just importing a single geometry. So in theory, in here, when you're working in nodes, you would just use a file node, which you could in theory also use for an Alembic. However, I like to stick to the Alembic specific file loader.
That's nice. By the way, when I'm just seeing here 24 frames, it would be also nice to change it to 25 frames per second.
Okay, so your scene frame rate is stored down here. You can check that here. If you click
it's
there.
a bit delayed. Now your painting comes here.
And here you see the FPS, so you can enter 25. And as soon as you did that, you can see it already adjusted the end.
I moved it so your blue circle is off.
This is the end.
Save as default. I will work with 25 frames.
But I mean, okay, you'll now have a scene length of 167 frames.
Let's make it 200.
Yes. And if you...
Okay.
No.
And Alembic Johnny.
And now you can click here and load the file.
This guy. Back in the future. Rock. Accept. Nice.
You set the view flag on it, you hopefully can see it, or the ghosting. So hit space and H.
Space and H at the same time.
Yep, space H. And now it's centered on your rock. And you can see we messed up the export scale. So 1 centimeter was apparently not what we're expecting.
It is tiny, or
it is giant. It is 100 times too large, I think. So what we can do is either after the Alembic manually scale it by after the Alembic dropping down a transfer node.
Transfer node, okay, I'm doing that.
Transform, not transfer.
Transform. Right. Transform, so much stuff going on here.
There's no transfer node, I think. If you scroll down, you should also find a uniform scale.
Okay, I already failed.
No, you didn't. Uniform. I mean, if you set the view flag on the transform, you can see the effects. And now you can see in your first scale, where you scaled it individually, you scaled it to 1/10 of its original size. And then in the uniform scale, you again scaled it by 1/10. So in all, you scaled it by 100ths, which is right. I just would have left the scale by 1 here and set the uniform scale to 0.01.
0.01. Yeah, but look at the size. 1 is okay. Let's go for 1. Might be a bit too big. Yeah, it's too big compared to our object, the grid.
Well, okay, so now in theory, what you need to know is your scale of the rock in your cinema scene versus in Quixel, what its realistic dimensions would be. And then you need to make up your mind if you want to adjust the rock size or if you want to adjust your simulation size accordingly. So just for your scene, make up your mind how big your rock should be in your mind.
It's 4 meters to 6 meters, something like that.
So let's go to Houdini then.
It's kind of big, actually.
It is. And if you
I would make the rock smaller, actually. And anyway, I will reshade it so it's not going to be realistic.
Okay, so then just enter whatever uniform scale you like.
Yeah, let's go with 0.6. Perhaps this
whatever you
value.
And you can also move it down using the tool handle here on the side, and you can move it down to wherever you want it to be so that the cloth can collide with it.
We need to go more down. And I think it's nicer to rotate it. So the collision is it can like drift down.
Yeah.
So a bit more to the center. Yeah. Let's go with this guy.
You need to put it down exactly so that in the first frame
then
doesn't intersect with it.
Yeah, we need to connect the transform into the right.
Correct.
What was the one in the middle again?
Constraints. So the internal springs that keep the cloth together, for example.
Okay. And merge. Okay, let's press play.
Well, okay, let's see if that works. I suspect it doesn't. So what Houdini does by default, it imports alembics as packed geometry, which is very memory efficient for rendering. However, it doesn't unpack the geometry, so it's not simulating whole polygons, just a visual representation of the geometry that you loaded in. I think if you click on the alembic node again, you can tell it to, if you scroll down, you can stop. You can under load as specify, if you click on the, specify and either go to unpack alembic delayed load primitives, or I think that should be it. Let's try that. And if not, we will tell Houdini to load it as Houdini geometry, which is deprecated and should not be used anymore. So this should in theory be good.
So let's go to the merge. Wait, why is it gone?
Because you didn't merge it in there. When you deleted the previous
exactly.
tube, you also deleted both connections.
Oh, it's there.
That.
Let's see.
Yeah, and now it does collide.
That's nice. By the way, can we get rid of the ground plane, the numbers, the grid?
Yeah, sure. If you click here.
Nice. That's more
And
clean.
also, while hovering your mouse cursor over the viewport here somewhere, just press D. And that brings up all the display options. So for example, here you can set up another background color other than this ugly blue-gray. When you go here, maybe to dark. And
dark is quite techno. Gray. Nice. Actually, I like the light one because everyone has this background. I feel very Houdini when I see that.
Okay, by now I cannot see it anymore, but okay, that's good. And you find all kinds of visualization options in this dialog if you ever need to configure your viewport.
Shading looks crap. Let's see. Wait. Why is the shading not changing?
Is a good question. Are we in any weird mode here? Maybe go up one level here, go to the OBJ level and see if that fixes that. Okay, so if you go back into the node, into the geo. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe you were just in some viewport state or just some selection state where it still displayed that wireframe.
Okay. So that's not bad, but way too uniform, I would say.
Yes. In which regard to uniform?
Everything.
So what do you want to change?
We need to change the rotation and the scale. And perhaps the rock needs to be a little bit smaller. Let's start with that. So transform 0.05. Then we need to go to the attributes, guys. The orientation, p-scale. P-scale, we could make it a little bit more to 1.3. And the orientation. Yeah, but you said it would be hard to only pivot it on one rotation angle.
Except if you just download MOPs.
Okay. Is it quick?
Yes, rather. It's a pain to install, but we will go through installing anything into Houdini. So you've been through it once. You just need a text editor for it. And yes, you need a text editor.
Text editor? No, yes. I'm not doing that.
You are doing that.
No, it's.
I will talk you through it. First, download MOPs.
That's impossible. Okay, do we have to go on the website or is it from in?
I think it's not within the standard Houdini install that you have.
MOPs.
With
Houdini.
a P, like the dog. But yeah, you have it. You have it already there. Motion upgraders for Houdini. And then up there it says download now on GitHub above the donate button.
Donate, download.
Takes you to GitHub, and then if you scroll down there, it actually Henry has written a nice how-to. Here, downloading MOPs. You need to download MOPs on the GitHub. So option 2. Wait. Yeah, option 2. Go to the releases page here. Click there. And now let's download this zip file here. That is MOPs that you're downloading now. Should only be a few megabytes. Yeah, there it is. So you unzip that to somewhere on your PC where you want it to live.
Where it will always be.
Yeah. Just an install directory, and you copy it there just manually.
Then it will go to the preset thing. Could be a preset.
Whatever you like.
Or is it more an app?
It's an add-on, so
I need
whatever you want to qualify this as.
Plugin kind of thingy. Okay.
All right.
Oops.
And now you go in there. Nice. We've got 2 times MOPs in there. That's fine, I guess.
Let's make it a little bit cleaner. The MOPs out of the MOPs.
Yeah, MOPs, and just create another subfolder called MOPs. All right.
Did it do it now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And stop. Now go and take this mops.json and copy that. Or even cut it with Control and X.
Mm-hmm.
And now you go to your documents folder. Under this
What's
PC.
documents folder?
It's here.
What? Where? Documents? Hello? Which?
Yeah.
Yes, the painting.
And there you see Houdini. Exactly. Go in there. And in here, there's a packages folder. Go in there. And there you paste that mops.json.
Yeah, MOPs here.
And not yet. Now you open the mops.json with a text editor.
Oh yeah, fuck text editor.
It's beautiful.
Okay, I don't have a text editor.
You've got Notepad there.
WordPad.
No, Notepad. Take Notepad.
Notepad.
Perfect. And now you'll have to go back to your install directory where you copied MOPs to, and just copy its path. And
back to the MOPs guy.
Put that in here.
Put that in here.
Mm-hmm. And now you just have to exchange those back slashes with forward slashes. All those slashes.
Why doesn't he have just an install?
RFE it at side effects. Send them a nice mail and request that as a feature.
Hello, I'm a graphic designer, not a code guy. Can
Welcome
you please
to the beautiful world of Houdini. And we haven't even talked about what it means to install a third-party render engine such as Redshift or Octane.
Really, it's not just installing and that's it?
You need a text editor, let's put it that way.
Fucking hell.
Did you save that? Save it.
Save.
Yeah, save that file. Okay. And now let's go back into Houdini and restart Houdini.
Close.
And MOPs should be there. Just leave it open for now. If we should edit it, if we made some mistakes, maybe we need to re-edit it. But just save this state as your Houdini project and then restart Houdini. And it should, fingers crossed, be there.
This folder is making... Okay, do I have to click all through my thingy here? Or can I add... Wait, what's this? Add...
Yeah, that adds a certain directory here to your favorites.
Perfect. Yeah, we need this. And let's call it... Mo-Rock.
Nice.
Accept.
Okay, restart Houdini. And now just go into your geo network there, drop a geo node. Just to check if MOPs installed correctly, go in there and then just try searching for MOPs. Yeah, and I think it's there.
With the P, wow, there's lots of stuff.
Henry has been productive.
Motion clip, MOPs, sort, MOPs.
MOPs installed, that's fine. We will go through using parts of it as soon as you open up the scene we've been working on.
Okay. Open. Is there like a open recent file in Houdini?
Yes. Under file you've got open recent file.
Open recent, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So now what we can do, where we had all these attributes here, the attribute randomizes, and we want to drive in the orient. That's the orient.
Orient, yeah.
Let's exchange that with a MOPs. I think it's called MOPs Randomize. That's what we called it back then.
MOPs Randomizer.
Nice. And you just wire that in there instead of the attribute randomize too. Instead
of only the orientation or all?
I think you can use it to influence all of them as well.
Yeah, that's easier.
Okay.
So let's get rid of all these banana guys.
And now if you click on the MOPs randomizer and drag that down a bit, the first thing you will notice is that everything is gone here. And if you zoom out of your node tree here, you will see Vellum Solver complaining about one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it will complain that if you click on that exclamation mark there when you hover over it, it says that it has a duplicate point ID attribute detected. What that means is Vellum internally specifies point IDs and calls them ID. However, MOPs does the same previously. So we'll have to tell MOPs to just let that be and don't do that. And then Vellum is going to work.
Okay.
Or we can just go here to the copy the points.
Copy the points. Wait. Yeah.
And in here, you just uncheck this. So what this does is normally this copy the points is set up so that all attributes coming in here through this slot will automatically get copied onto the objects in here and then output here. Now we are just not copying those attributes here. So we are not copying IDs and everything over, which is fine for now.
And the other way was in MOPs something.
No, because I think in this node we didn't implement it so that you can switch off the ID. So This is your best bet for now, just disabling that in the copy to points, or maybe also you could just use an attrib delete and wire that in here after the copy to points and just delete the ID attribute, if that's what you want.
I think that's the easier way.
Whatever you like.
Let's delete this, guys.
And in the MOPs randomize, what you can do is just click whatever you want to randomize.
Position. Orientation. And scale. Oh wait, no uniform. No, I don't need uniform. I only want to scale on this value.
I think it's the Z value, but
the Z.
I'm not sure.
Which is the Z? This
XYZ. It's always XYZ.
This one here.
Yep.
0.5 to 1.5. It's hard to see. That was the wrong one. I think it was the thickness only, not the length. I want them to be different in the length.
I mean, let's dial in one after the other. And I think it would be easier to start with the orientation.
Yeah, let's make this a little bit in variation. So orientation, let's begin with this guy. Rotation.
Rotating each axis X, Y, and Z through 720 degrees randomly.
Okay, we only need the X orientation, I think. Right? No,
let's try it out.
This was the wrong one. So this one 360. Yeah, this is the right one. That's a good start.
Okay, that's not too chaotic for you.
No.
Okay, good. Then, if that's what you want, let's stick with it.
But the scaling is still, we have two thin guys here.
Mm-hmm.
This one is too thin, definitely. Is 0 the original value?
So, you see that the scale mode is set to multiply.
Yeah.
So, any values that you input here will be randomly chosen. So we will randomly choose for each scaling axis a value between 0 and 1 and multiply the original scale by that. And if I multiply the original scale by 0, it gets squished down to nothing.
Yeah. So minus 0.1 to 0.1 is, whoa.
Again, we multiply our values. So think about if you have something that is 100 centimeters long and you multiply it randomly with a value of minus 0.1, it suddenly is only minus 10 centimeters long.
Yeah, we need a high value
at
then.
Max, it's so. I think the way you're thinking this through, you want to set your scale mode to add and not multiply. Let's put it that way.
To replace.
Okay, we don't have that. Okay, we didn't implement an add, so you have to rethink this. Again, you are multiplying these values. So if one thing is scaled 100 centimeters long, now you scale it between minus 90 all the way through 0 to plus 90 centimeters.
Okay, so only little.
Again, you're multiplying this, so the smallest thing that this can be is now a 0.
Yeah.
But that's what you didn't want. You didn't want one thing that is infinitesimally small. So
wait, but
I think okay, mentally, what you're trying to do, I assume, is you are trying to scale something between 90% of its original scale and say 110% of its original scale, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the minimum value is 0.9 for 90%. And the maximum value is 1.1 for 110%.
I had that in the beginning, but look at this, it's not.
Yeah, because your first two values are still set to 0.
Ah, that's why. Because they are so thin here. That's why I was irritated by the 0.1 and 1.1. So they all need to be 1.
So now x and y is not scaled.
Yeah.
And z-axis is between 90% and 110%.
Yeah, that's perfect. But let's also make this one 10% in scale. 1.1, 1.1. Yeah.
All right. Now only the position to offset this a bit, right? So that they don't stick.
Yeah, position.
And mainly I would adjust the y value to just space those in the y direction a bit.
5. It's not that bad. 5. Yeah. What do you say? First, we need to move the rock a little bit to the right side so the collision is better. And can I click on the rock directly here?
You have to select the transform first and then
select the rock first.
The transform, yeah.
Okay. Nice. Oh, that was a little bit too much. Okay,
also,
let's
if
go.
you press space and 1, you can switch to this perspective viewport. If you press space and 2, space and 3, space and 4, you go to the orthographic views of your scene. So if you want to...
But I can't run the simulation while pressing space.
You can do that.
Oh, now it's doing it. Yeah.
It just might take a while because simulation is taking a bit of an effort to run.
A nice view.
Again, space and 1 takes you back to the perspective camera.
Yeah. So Gravity is anyway doing already a lot of animation for us. But I think it would be nice to see how to add some turbulence, because I wanted to do this by my own, but I couldn't find turbulence.
So any forces you want to add to the simulation, you will add inside of your Vellum solver.
Yeah. But look, it already looks
really nice. Yeah, really nice.
Let's see this for a second in real time. Where the button was this one.
Yep. Now it's disabled. Now it does.
It's disabled now.
Yep.
It was already on.
I think so, yeah. It's saved in the scene. I think last time we enabled it.
Ah, nice. That's perfect. I only want to see real time. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. It could have a little bit more friction.
We can do that.
And some turbulence.
So the friction in Vellum is increased with a very counterintuitive attribute on the Vellum solver.
Vellum solver.
And under Forces, under the Forces tab, you will find what's called a static threshold. And if you increase that, you will have more friction with the collider geometry.
Higher value means more friction. Why is this? Sounds logic to me.
I wouldn't just have called it static threshold. It's a bit confusing in my opinion, but let's go with it for now.
Is 5 a high value? I mean, yes. I've really zero.
Yes, it is.
Zero experience what numbers are doing.
Oh, that's the trick about all those simulation frameworks. One way of being able to work with them successfully over the time is getting an intuition, getting a knowledge of which value ranges work for you. And 5 is rather high in this case.
Yeah, nothing moves anymore.
Yeah, but also they stick really nicely to the rock. So it depends what you want.
Yeah. A little bit of motion. I think there was something, yeah.
I mean, try 1.5 or 1 maybe as an intermediate step.
1.5, nice. And now perhaps you can already dial in a little bit of turbulence.
Yes, so dive into that solver, double click on it, and so you go inside of that solver.
Wait, is it?
Yeah, you're simulating in parallel, I think.
Oh yeah, it's doing something here. Should I press escape?
You could do that, yeah. Don't be irritated by that. It's just an error due to the fact that you just cancel it in mid-simulation. So in here, you're seeing 2 nodes down there. One says force, one says source. The source is there if you want to create new geometry while you are running a simulation. For example, just shoot balls out of, I don't know, tube. And the force is where all the forces that influence our simulation go into. And you said you wanted a bit of turbulence, and that is done in this case with a force that's called pop wind. Pop means particle operators. And in Vellum, we mentioned that all the simulation geometry is just points, which Houdini regards as particles. So the pop wind offers you not only the ability to dial in wind, but also to dial in a bit of turbulence.
But it's both, it's wind and turbulence.
Exactly. Under the noise tab, you will see the turbulence settings there. And if you just increase the amplitude, which is by default set to 0, so no turbulence, if you just increase that to, I don't know, 0.5, 1, maybe 10 later, just to see how drastic the effect can be, you can dial in the noise. And the swirl sizes and swirl scale drive the scale of the noise, of the underlying noise. That means how fine your turbulence is or how coarse it is. The pulse length drives the animation duration, so how quickly the noise moves and just mixes your wind, your airflow of your simulation. And the roughness, attenuation, and turbulence are the secondary noise parameters where you can add in detail, noise detail.
Yeah, can we leave everything in default?
Yes.
Perfect. And
for now,
going
just
back,
run the simulation.
I run the simulation.
So you can go back. You don't need to. In this case, it doesn't matter. And you already see there's a good bit of turbulence.
Ah, that's nice. It gives us a lot of variation, but I think it's too strong.
Yeah, maybe the amplitude is a bit too strong. So usually when dialing this in, one approach that I sometimes approach is always halving or doubling the value until it fits what I want.
Pop wind, 0.5.
Especially with such a quick simulation, you can go through a lot of values until you find what you like.
Yeah. I think it's still a little bit too much.
Sure, half it again.
2, 5. Yeah, this looks good. And now perhaps we should talk as a last thing about improving the simulation, because last time my collision was very bad. But anyway, in this simulation, it looks quite good.
The point is, last time I think we had lots and lots of layers that lay pretty flat on each other, which sometimes gives the solver a hard time and makes it obvious where simulation and penetration errors can happen. In this case, as your simulation is a good bit more chaotic, I think you might not be able to notice them as strongly.
Yeah, I can't find any issues. There's no collision here.
So that's good. We added a bit of organic behavior and by this also making it easier for the solver in regards to resolving some of those intersections, and for the human eye, making it more difficult to detect intersections if they'd happen.
Looks good.
Cool.
So let's save this guy, and perhaps I should open the old scene so we can have a quick talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
If people are having the same issues with the collider, the simulation.
Yeah.
So that's the old one.
Let's just run the simulation for a few frames so we can actually see where the problems arise from.
In Houdini itself, the issues are not that visible, but if you render it, it looks very terrible. Here is, for example, something already visible. But I can show you the video again, which will make it very obvious here that we have some issues.
We do. Okay. Okay, so the first thing, let's go to your vellum cloth, where you set up the vellum cloth constraint in there and just set the view flag on this. Just set the view flag on this, right. And now please, under the properties up here, let's just scroll down until we see visualize thickness, or I think it's called. I'm not sure what it was called. Visualize thickness, there it is. So just check that here. Okay, the thing is, with collision detection, vellum only detects collision of points, not of areas, not of faces. And you can see your points are really small here. And we did that because we wanted thin strips in the end. So now we have to compromise. Either we make those points bigger and make it easier for Houdini to resolve those intersections, but we'll end up with either thin strips that have a bit of space in between them, or just thicker strips. So you'll have to compromise there. Or you increase your strips resolution, the grid resolution, so that the individual points sit closer together. And you can, just by adding more points, resolve those intersections and resolve those collisions better.
So the best thing would be probably to do both of it, a little bit of...
Yeah, sure. Let's do a compromise. So let's set the edge length scale to maybe 0.5 or 0.6. I don't know. Maybe go for 0.6. To resolve it properly. Because what's going to happen now, as soon as we increase our grid's resolution,
the grid,
that one,
resolution,
just double it, make it 200 by 8 or so.
Double.
You can see now those spheres have been scaled back again, so they only occupy 60% of the distance between the individual points, because we set them to be a scale of 0.6, which is 60% of them.
So we have to make them bigger again.
I would try simulating it like that for now and see if that doesn't resolve most of those intersections.
Quite intense if you look at it like this.
Yeah, I mean, if you uncheck the visualizer, the viewport gets a bit more responsive, I think. So if you go to the merge, reset that, and just resim. Of course, we are now simulating with 4 times as much points. Still a decent.
Still, it's very fast.
Yeah, it's decent, I'd say. The thing with cloth is if you have lots and lots of layers of cloth, lying on top of each other. You have to choose the death you want to die here, you know? So either thicker cloth or just higher resolution.
My PC is definitely getting a bit louder here in the background. Probably this is quite calculative intensive here now, these frames, right?
Yes. Yes, we've got lots of interpenetrations that we want to resolve. And let's see if our solver is even set up to handle that many collisions. And also what you can see down here, press stop for a while. What you can see here, the cached area of our animation is only in here. It's only this blue snake here. And as you're progressing here, the snake just wanders and it loses this area in the beginning here. You see? This is not cached anymore because we set up our cache a bit too slow on the Vellum solver. And I think we didn't adjust it last time. And by default, it's just set ridiculously low, the caching.
Where do you adjust the cache?
In the Vellum solver. Or on the Vellum solver's properties, actually.
Vellum solver. I need to go inside, right?
No. In the simulation tab, I think.
Simulation.
Yeah, and the cache memory down there is now set to 5 gigabyte. Let's increase it to 25, 35 gigabyte. I don't know how much RAM your machine has, how much you can afford.
Is it the RAM only? It's not on the hard drive?
Well, after the RAM is full, Windows will start swapping to your hard drive, but that will go incredibly slow.
No. I think I have 128.
Then you can easily put in 85 or 65. 25 is fine for this, I think.
65. Bam!
And now you have to sadly reset the simulation and cache those initial frames again.
Nah, that's all right. People will get it.
Well, but as soon as you hit reset, it'll do it anyway, so...
Okay. So, but I've seen that we still had issues.
Let's just see.
But overall, it looks way better already if we are that close.
I mean, the edges are jagged a bit, but I'm not seeing any interpenetration so far.
Yeah, the penetration's gone, only the edge is a bit weird.
So for the edges, on the Vellum solver, in the solver tab, I think we're now down to adjusting constraint iterations and solver substeps.
That looks... Here's an issue. But
where? Oh, yeah. Yep, that's right. Okay. So on the solver itself, on the solver tab here. So, oh yeah, we only have one substep. Yeah, let's just use 2 substeps here. Crank. Yeah, let's just leave it like that and resimulate. And just increasing the substeps takes care of running twice as many iterations, twice as many smoothing iterations, twice as many collision passes, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So, but also at the cost of twice the amount of computation power. So now you should definitely notice your simulation getting slow.
Yeah, slowly it's getting slow. Yeah, but I think overall this explains the issue. So if people have time, they just crank the shit up and wait.
Already getting bored here. Jesus, Vince.
I'm not getting bored. It's
fine.
People might get bored.
Yeah. Anyone who's still watching, kudos.
Kudos. You are already into cycling world.
Yeah.
So looks good.
Yeah, that's that. And now if, did you add a Vellum post process to this in the end?
No.
So in between the Vellum solver and the merge, you could wire in a Vellum post process.
Well post.
Yep, there it is.
Process.
And in here, just add a bit of spatial blur just to smooth out some of the jagginess there.
What is a bit? 1?
0.1, 0.2.
0.1.
And also add 1 step of subdivisions in this instance, I think Catmull Clark.
But
it takes a while, but
why would we need that? Wouldn't it be way better to do that in the renderer in Redshift?
Yeah, I didn't just think about any particular rendering engine yet. So, but yeah, definitely you could do that in a render engine.
Yeah, I will do that in the render engine, so the scene is faster and lighter.
Makes sense.
Thickness
what you can do
could be good.
Is extrude by thickness. So we'll give this a thickness, and this just as the thickness amount takes just the diameter of those individual spheres that we had. No, it's already set at 0.6, and this is just a post scale multiplier. So now you took value of 0.6, the point distance of each individual points times 0.6, that's your thickness, which you again multiplied by 0.6. And now you multiply.
So if I type 0.6, it's too thin. One is the exact right value now.
One is the exact diameter of those individual spheres.
Perfect. But if you look at it, a thinner value could be good, isn't it? Because we have some intersections going on here.
Because you have those penetrations there where you have too low of a resolution. So you might get away with a bit of a thinner value.
0.8. I think.
Especially if you're rendering refractive materials such as this rubber ball, which are recently rendered. You want to dial back the thickness scale a bit, because with refractive materials, you can really see those intersections.
Yeah, this looks super weird.
Yeah.
When they touch each other.
Yep.
That's nice. So I will put that out again and save this. Looks nice. Do you want to say something final to the other scene? Wait, where is it?
I think you closed it already. For the rock scene, you meant?
I closed it. I didn't want to close it. If I open a recent file, it closes the current one.
Yes, because in contrast to what you are used from Cinema 4D, in Houdini, you can have multiple instances of Houdini open. You can have as many instances of Houdini open as you like. So if you go to your Houdini launcher, you can just launch another Houdini version, or just if you click on Houdini, you can just launch another instance, and you can have as many Houdini instances running as you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
And just use those to open individual projects and switch between them.
File, open recent, rock.
And the trick when a client or an art director is standing behind you and hovering above you while you're doing Houdini is just already having the next instance open should the first instance of Houdini crash.
Or randomly jumping back and forth so he wouldn't understand anything.
Or that. It depends what your strategy is here.
But anyway, who will understand stuff here?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's that scene. I really like it. It's a beautiful mess.
Yeah, perfect. I love beautiful messes.
Again, you might, if you feel that you are getting intersections, you might want to increase your substeps. You might want to dial in the thickness.
Wait, at first, this was important. Connectivity. So if I export them, I will get them all separate, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Then vellum.
If in the Alembic dropout where you export it, you check build hierarchy by path attribute. But I think as we had that from the last scene, it's still checked. So if you scroll down, there it says build hierarchy from attribute.
And I would have to type in path in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you've called this connectivity attribute, path. So whatever you call the attribute in your connectivity node, you call it here in the Alembic drop.
So I would say we add the post vellum guy in here as well. Yes. And spatial blur.
It's marginal here. In this case, you wouldn't need it. I mostly use it to thicken and subdivide the geometry. That's what I use the vellum post process for. Maybe.
Yeah, but we want to thicken it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the thickness. And also what you can see here now, we are getting some normal errors. So the edges look a bit...
the Phong tag.
Weirdly shaded. In Cinema 4D, this is called Phong tag. Normally, you would call this normal breaks. Any other program, it can be fixed using the normal node here. So if you wire that in after the vellum post process, wire in a normal node, it will reevaluate the normals.
Which one, the first one?
Yeah, the first one.
That's pretty good to know. Yeah, it looks good now. Normal. So this is the Phong tag. The Cinema 4D Phong tag.
The normal tag in Cinema 4D is called Phong tag. Yes, that does the same thing as the Phong tag in Cinema 4D. Let's put it that way.
And 60 is much, right? Yeah,
60 40 is much. 40. Usually the old default in Maya or Max, I think, used to be 22 or 22.5 degrees, something around that.
22.
Yeah, that was a bit too drastic. We can now see some breaks happening.
40 was good.
Yeah.
40, then I think we're done, aren't we?
Looks like it.
Do you have any last art director idea?
Listen. I went for Houdini to not having to art direct anything in my life anymore. You are the art director here. I can only... I refrain and just give technical advice if you ask me. Art direction is totally your domain, and you are way better at it than I am. So go wild.
So should we add another sub-step? I don't know.
What are you missing, or what are you seeing? What is
nothing it looks
like or don't like?
I think it looks good. Yeah, let's render it.
Nice.
Export and output 5. Yeah, it's probably not the best name. Output 5.
Best name. If you if you want to, you can put an expression there that automatically calls it like your project file.
That I need.
Then in there, tip.
I'm tipping.
Hit the $sign.
Dollar. Dollar.
And then all caps. Hip name. HIP.
Hip
there. Name. Hip name. Yeah, that's it. So now it'll call it mo_rock.abc.
Can that be default?
I don't know. I think you can save your... I'm not sure if you can save your node settings up here. Never tried that.
Because in Cinema 4D, I really love the tokens for saving and exporting. And I never have to type anything. I can always just press render, and it's always dealing with the right folder. Like everything is correct.
Try clicking here. Yeah. Save as permanent default. That should have done it. If you drop down another ROP Alembic, let's see if that worked.
ROP.
And it did. Scroll down a bit.
Where? Here?
Yeah. And yeah, we also have build hierarchy from attribute checked, and the path attribute is also specified in there. So yeah, that worked.
Perhaps you should do that in your default scene.
I should. I don't have a default scene.
You don't have a default scene?
No.
Is it not common in Houdini?
I'm not sure. When I started learning Houdini, I just got used to working with the most vanilla, bland installation of Houdini I could get.
Because if I open, for example, Cinema, my file looks like this, and I already have materials, lights, environments, objects, cameras, text, everything.
I used to have that when I was working in Cinema 4D as well. For Houdini, weirdly enough, I never bothered to set it up. I don't know why.
Under settings. Okay.
Yeah, I remember I had that in Cinema 4D as well. Actually, that's a good hint. Maybe I should spin that into a tutorial. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, do it. How to work faster, even faster.
Yeah, even faster. As if working in Houdini was so fast.
I mean, this is not that slow. I mean, simulation-wise, it's very fast. So
simulation-wise, it's fast. It's just when you want to crank out style frames, Houdini might not be the fastest tool if that's what you want to do. But for simulation, it's very fast.
I mean, to be very honest, I think I won't be able to learn it deeper than just creating some Vellum stuff, put it to Cinema, and be happy about it.
Yeah, but that's fine. If it is that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have MOPs now.
isn't updating their banana solver anyway, I will have to do it anyway. So,
I mean, it's always good to have an arsenal of tools to choose from.
yeah, definitely. When did they make their last simulation update? I think 10 years ago.
I don't know. I haven't followed the updates recently.
It's incredible.
So that's caching out. And we also installed MOPs, which I think is nice. And you can look into the MOPs nodes. One thing, if you want to open another instance of Houdini while this is caching out, I can show you some.
It already is. Wait.
You're already becoming that Houdini TD at this point. So the other way you can work with MOPs, other than writing template points attributes, such as we did in this case, is you can use the MOPs instancer, which is kind of a copy to points node on steroids.
Okay, let's try that. Let's duplicate the grid, go for the MOPs, and MOPs instancer.
That goes in there, and if you set the view flag on the MOP instancer, you can see it already created a few copies of your original geo without you having to feed in template points. And under the distribution tab in the MOPs instancer, you can specify an initial distribution.
Distribution?
And you can see currently this is distributed as a grid, and you can choose from all kinds of distributions there.
That's pretty similar for the
or Maya Mesh.
Linear number of points is that we have 10 clones now.
Yep, 10 copies, right.
But they're not...
they're just intersecting, so they are just aligned in the z-axis now.
So if I want to move them...
If you increase the length, they will automatically space apart.
If I increase the length.
Quite drastically. You've got a long grid in there that you put in there. Or if you change the direction. I mean, the direction is now pointing in Z.
No, they're all pointing in somewhere.
Just maybe change the direction to the X.
Direction to X.
Oh, are we orienting them as well? Oh, that's interesting. If you go to the Orient tab, see? We align them. I didn't know that Henry implemented this. Really neat.
Align, that's not what we need.
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes you want
out.
your copies to point into the direction of a line, you know?
That's also nice. That we can...
And after that, you can also use all those MOPs random and all those MOPs effectors or whatever you want to call them to modify your copies.
MOPs randomizer.
And
random position. Maximum. Yeah.
Yep. And that's that. One thing I want to point out, however, if you want to throw those into a simulation now, they are instances. So they are rendering very fast. You can have lots of them, but Vellum won't be able to deal with them.
And how do I uninstance them?
Use an unpack sub or a convert sub, whatever you want.
And there's no check mark like in cinema, like render instant, and...
I don't think so. I'm not sure, however. I haven't looked at it in a long time.
Okay, let's go.
Try finding unpack. It unpack or convert. Doesn't matter. So yeah, and you could feed that into Vellum, I think. Middle mouse on it so we can see what comes out of that.
Middle mouse on it.
Yeah. That is now converted.
How do you see that it is converted?
The points and the primitive numbers are different, and there's too many vertices in there for it to be an instance. If you middle mouse on the MOPs randomize before it, you can see now we have 10 points, 10 primitives, 10 vertices.
Okay. Nice.
Yes.
So I would say this was again longer than expected.
It escalates with Houdini, you know.
And I still know nothing.
This feeling will continue, I say, between 3 and 6 months.
3 and 6 years.
Month.
I doubt it.
By summer, you're a Houdini TD.
No, by summer, I'm still 0.
No, by summer, you are a decent Houdini artist, I think.
No, I still have to do like normal stuff. I can't learn Houdini all day, every day. So.
But you will find ways to incorporate it more and more into your commercial projects. At least that's what happened with me. That's typically what happens with any software that you learn.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
and with you on my side,
yeah, always.
Perhaps I can even manage.
Yeah. Well, Vince, it has been a pleasure. Any famous last words for this one?
Good night.
All right, let's keep it at that. Good night. And
thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mo. Bye-bye.